I actually think that the clarity notion is spot on because before we have that clear core belief, it's murky what our action steps should be. We don't really know what the right thing to do is. But once we nail that, in this case, single word, this concept is so clearly codified. I now know with absolute precision, with fact, what I do next. And that is the part I think that gives people so much excitement and momentum and even, goodwill. They're going to keep going for a while, even if it's not easy, just because they understand now that's the path.
You've built something amazing and your team believes in what you have to offer. But if you can't name what you stand for, well, you won't stand out. You'll just be another commodity in a race to the bottom you can't win. Today, you'll find your one word, your core belief, and make it art that activates feeling and makes you impossible to ignore. Hello and welcome to the Business of Story. I'm Park Howell, and I'm delighted you're with us today because Brian Burkhart's here. He's the founder of Square Planet, a former Disney submariner, and he's a Fortune 500 communications strategist. He's helped leaders and TEDx speakers find the galvanizing signal that transforms commodities into movements. Brian's going to show you how to distill your core belief to a single word, his 10-step Stoic framework for any presentation, how to reverse engineer beliefs from your actions, and why feelings drive decisions, and how to make art that activates those decisions. All that and more for you right here on the Business of Story. Brian Burkhart, my man, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Business of Story, all the way down I-17 from Tucson.
It's a good day when I look at my calendar and I say, I get to hang with Park Howell. That's pretty cool.
You're so nice. We have had a lot of fun together, and you've been so kind to bring me into some of your events to teach storytelling, and I'd love to have you on my show here talking about your approach of you. I don't think so much as a storyteller practitioner. You do that. You don't sell yourself on storytelling, but you use stories in a remarkable way. I've seen your presentations. I love how you pull from Hollywood and little clips and then make really fantastic analogies to connect with that B2B logic-driven mindset that's sitting in the room. And you, with your Disney background, which we can always touch on because I love the idea that you were a submariner at Disney World. That's just too great in an earlier life. But here today, we're going to talk about core beliefs. And I believe one of your core beliefs is always about elevating the individual you are with, whether it's right here on Riverside, if you are in the room or you are trying to motivate 200 CPAs to get out and tell their story. Core beliefs set you up. What does that mean to you, Brian?
Oh, it means a lot. It's a heck of a question. In many ways, it's really, truly my life's work. It's what my book is about. It's the stuff I do every day. And I'm going to go back in a weird way. I'm old and long since married at this point, but there was a time when I was a single guy living in a cool apartment in downtown Chicago, doing all the things. And I had a roommate who was a pal of mine from Disney. We both drove the subs at 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And he was a really good, sweet guy. And I remember at some point we were having people over. And it was the kind of thing where he goes into the fridge and he rips off the lid of the plastic store-bought French onion dip. And he rips open the bag of Ruffle potato chips in the bag. And he sets those things on the table. We're ready to have people over. And I go, oh, no. We will do nothing of the sort. And he kind of gave me the side eye. I was like, well, what do you mean? And I go to our cupboard and I grab a little bowl and I put the dip in a nice little bowl and make it clean. And then I grab a bigger bowl and I dump all the chips in a bigger bowl. And I put those on the table, and I put a whole bunch of napkins nicely arranged nearby. That's how you do it, is what I said to him. This is how we present ourselves. This is a much more elevated, refined way of eating store-bought French onion dip and potato chips. And I know that seems preposterous, but my core belief of elevating people, it's old. It's been with me literally since I was a little guy. I didn't really realize it then. It took much more time, experience, and wisdom to find those words, but it has been part of my daily practice in a myriad of ways for forever. And that little moment of elevating that experience for other people through simply repackaging food is exactly what I'm talking about. The core belief leads to your actions. What you believe leads to what you do. If you believe your body is your temple, it's the one and only body you get, then you're probably not going to have a pack and a half of Marlboros on the daily. You're probably not going to spend 2 hours a week at the Whataburger drive-through. It's a whole different sort of way of being when you know your core beliefs, because then it immediately elicits the action steps. In our world of both story and clearly working with senior leaders of some of the biggest companies on the planet, it's shocking, Park. Shocking. I'm no longer surprised. I've been at this long enough. But when I say things like, what do you and or your organization, and then by default your people, what do you stand for? I often get no answer, a whole lot of humana, 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 or a tremendous amount of incongruence. They'll pull some approved by legal, written by marketing nonsense that is nothing like they would say as human beings, and certainly nothing down the line. But when all parts have congruence, when they know with absolute certainty and with ease of communication, of expression, what they stand for, everything changes. Core beliefs are truly, literally the foundation of it all.
It becomes your signal, that
A
core
hundred billion
signal.
percent.
Now, you had sent me a note about a company you are currently working with, maybe it's a new engagement, and you said it's a very, very well-known financial company that we would all be very aware of, and they're 120 years old, you're working with the sales guy, he's gotta go out to his team, and he's gotta present them, I guess, a new initiative, and you said it was just all over the place, that it was just mush, and look at this guy's not alone. I come across that all the time. Well, you and I experience it when we're trying to communicate something big and complex to find that signal. Can you give us a little bit more intel on it without revealing names to
Yeah.
protect the innocent about what went down and if anybody else is finding themselves in this situation, what they can do?
Well, first and foremost, if you find yourself in this situation, do the thing that I'm about to tell you about, which is take yourself off the hook. When this guy called me and we walked into this situation and started looking at everything, the first thing I said, man, it's okay. You're okay. No one's a bad human. This is not life or death. It's just sort of the way it is. And in many ways, and especially on some of these longer held brands, I mean, again, this thing's over a century old. You can just imagine the sheer number of bodies that have had a hand in the soup, if you will. And so it just kind of can get funktastic quickly. And so if it's a newish entity or an old one or somewhere in the middle, take yourself off the hook for not getting this stuff right. One, it's super hard. And then two, you have to really have an appetite for it. This is not stuff you wake up and say, I know. Let me see if I can figure out our core beliefs, create signals that go out in the marketplace, and then magically pull people in. It's like no one does that, right? It's the stuff that we do. We do that every day, but most people don't. So, first and foremost, a lot of forgiveness, just permission to be lousy. Second, the thing that was most interesting about this entity, this company, amazing people. I love every one of them. They're outstanding. Really great brand. They do incredible work. They're really helpful to the world and all of us at large. I mean, this is like all positive. But the thing that was interesting is like if you look at their products and services and sort of rank them against their competitors, it's very middle of the pack. There's not a single category that they are clear by far and away the one.
Just
Not
a
one.
commodity, huh?
That is the exact word that I used 1,000 times. You are now just a commodity. You are pushing a commodity. And like Sisyphus, you are pushing that commodity uphill only to get to the top and have it roll down and have to start all over again. You're
And it
not
rolls
winning.
down because a low price leader wins in a commodity play. And who wants to be the low price leader? There's no
Walmart.
freaking margin in low price leadership.
That's exactly it. It's that race to the bottom that is just a fool's errand that you shouldn't even try. So when I got into this thing, took them off the hook, helped them see that playing in that commodity space is a bad idea. And the answer is, let's just tell a different story. And the thing that got them which I know your audience will love this. You'll eat this up. I reminded them of an episode of Mad Men. And immediately he was like, that was early. I think it actually might have been season one when Don Draper is talking to the guys at Marlboro. And he says something along the lines of, you actually got a favor handed to you by the FDA, I think he said. He's saying all cigarette companies now are bad, meaning let's say something else. Let's not talk about health benefits because nobody can. Let's talk about something else. And he says, Draper says, we can say anything we want. And he lands on it's toasted. And the client gets it. In my real life scenario, it's not a fictional portrayal. We did real work that was a hell of a lot better than it's toasted. It was based on lots of actually very germane fact, but it's deeply embedded in what they stand for. And it's brilliant. And they're going to kill it. They're going to kill it. And because they're going to kill it, their products and services will rise to the top. They will spend money on the backside of things. They will improve on all levels. Everyone will win, inclusive of us, the consumer, because they'll get their core belief right.
Will you, well, you probably can't share what that core belief is, I don't imagine, but were you able to boil it down to one word like toasted?
One word. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of work with our Story Cycle Genie on the idea around story ops. And you don't even know this. I know you've been working in the Genie, but you don't know this part of the story, but it plays perfectly to what you're talking about there. And what we realize we really have here is a platform where you go into an enterprise like that, they've got sales ops, they've got marketing ops, they've got revenue ops, they got financial ops, they have HR ops, but nobody has story ops to find that singular focus, that singular signal that makes you stand out, and then to make sure that it gets incorporated, embraced, embedded coherently and consistently throughout the entire organization. And so what you're talking about right there with this financial company is to find that signal, that one word that is both aspirational, something that they've got to reach for. It's not immediately apparent. They have to go get it. And in doing so, it impacts operations, sales, marketing, recruitment, retention, everything across the board.
It's almost as if you've done this before, Park. I mean, you sound so, I mean,
Well,
sincerely, that was spectacular. And it's exactly the thing. I have used the word aspirational for this singular phrase, word, idea with them over and over and over and over again. It's like Oz. It's a place we are going towards. And we'll probably never get there. And that's the point. Um, it's a really interesting thing too, because I've also noticed that, and we haven't even rolled it out. We're still a few weeks away, but it is a very strong galvanizing agent. It is just on this internal work with these small teams. They're more excited and more pulling in the same direction than they have been in a very long time. The value that we have created through this story ops work is almost inconceivable. And I know that whatever the final price tag is, I frankly, if I could have figured out a way to sell them on it, it should be like times 200 because it's worth that much internally, externally, total revenue, you name it. It's everything, truly.
in your experience, Brian, and you've worked with folks like this for a long, long time to help them find that core belief and articulate it.
Yeah.
And it comes down to one word, and a lot of people dismiss that of being it just can't be easy. It just can't be that simple. That one word can have so much meaning. Why do you think it does? Why do you think this large group of logic, reason-driven financial professionals latched on to that one word?
I think my response is art. And I'm not naming a person nor a specific medium. I mean, like you could turn around and dial up some artistic keyboard play. We could paint something. We could craft something from clay. I am a potter. Art at its absolute defined core is something that moves us. We feel it. When we experience art, it creates tingles. We can't even necessarily describe it sometimes, but we know it. And that thing, that feeling is what makes us so uniquely human. And unfortunately, for so long and in so many ways, it's been driven out purposefully in our corporate lives. And the minute we put it back in, and the minute we take this thing and we make it artful, we feel it. And I think that's what's so exciting to people is that a simple word, a simple idea, something that really doesn't even need to be fully defined, it just needs to be experienced in an artful way, and they get pretty fired up. So for me, it's that. It's a little bit like going to Florence and looking at the David and just really not having words. It's that.
Now that sounds like high and mighty for a business model, a business strategy. But I'm not discounting it because I know what you're saying, I think. Let's take it a little bit deeper.
Sure.
So you do have that art and you have that feeling, but how do you actually get that? Because again, we're playing to that logic-driven mind, and the word I'm thinking about is simply clarity. Is it because this one word gives them a clear direction, a clear ambition, something that they can measure their success against, and that's what creates that artful engagement with it?
I don't think you're wrong, but maybe a touch incomplete. The clarity piece of it is very, very, very real. But I'm going to go backwards in our conversation just a touch. That word really does become the core belief. And that belief, as I said a few moments ago, tells us what to do. It defines what actions we need to take. I actually think that the clarity notion is spot on because before we have that clear core belief, it's murky what our action steps should be. We don't really know what the right thing to do is. But once we nail that, in this case, single word, this concept is so clearly codified. I now know with absolute precision, with fact, what I do next. And that is the part I think that gives people so much uh, excitement and momentum and even goodwill. They're going to keep going for a while, even if it's not easy, just because they understand now that's the path. I've talked about it lots. I've used it in presentations. One of my more favorite images is one we all know. It's George Washington leading the troops over the Delaware River back in the day, 1700s, right? Um, it's just one of those super clear images. We can all see it, where all those guys in the boats are like, "Oh yeah, George says we're going there. Well, that's where we're going. We know exactly where we're headed." That is clarity.
How do you arrive at that word?
That is the work, right? Um, that's a great question. I would say there's a couple of parts to the process, at least for me. No surprise, like you, or I'm sure the people that listen to this podcast, lots of due diligence. I get in there on both my individual client, but certainly that industry. Um, look for a lot of patterns. You see the same kind of words, ideas, concepts, especially in those commoditized businesses. And then you start asking people some questions, get them a little uncomfortable, and they start revealing things that they don't think has tremendous value, but it often has. I mean, it's like pots of gold at the end of the rainbow, and they don't even know it. In this particular instance, I kind of had an idea going in. My client came to me, the top big, 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 big boss. And he basically said, I want to create this feeling. This is the thing. And so I had an idea of how we could get there. And then the more I started speaking to the folks that were actually like boots on the ground, it's like, okay, yeah, this is going to work. And the thing that's interesting is that a lot of it is trial, error, wash, rinse, repeat. But in this particular case, one thing that went super far was your genie. I had crafted a bunch of stuff, had some ideas, and in some ways, I think maybe to just sort of get some additional concepts or even validation with your help, put it in the genie, and I was truly blown away. I mean, blown away. It was groundbreaking, mind blowing, mind numbing in some regard, but that I think is now going to be a no brainer approach going forward to use that tool to either validate or explore a different path even. Uh, but it was something, truly.
Well, I'm always glad to hear that, and when we, launched it a year ago, actually a year and a half ago now with our beta group, I arrived at a one-word thing, the one-word emotional promise that drives everything, and it's from people like you that I just got that reaction from in our beta test and those that are using it now, and I watched them when they like I did with you when I was onboarding you, putting in the information, and I saw this enthrallment, and I've seen it with
Yeah.
everybody. They're like, "This is unreal. This is amazing." And I had never thought of that word enthrallment or to be enthralled in any branding I've done in 40 years, but it's what everybody was experiencing. And then I started looking at the depth of that word enthrallment. And what it ultimately means in its shortest form is to capture the fascinated attention of somebody on something. And isn't that what branding or an internal sales and marketing initiative that you were talking about, isn't that its ultimate goal is to capture the fascinated attention of your colleagues so they will do that? Or, yeah, and then when they do it, capture the fascinated attention of your prospects and then deliver on that fascination with your customers. And that's the importance of finding what that one word really is that everybody can draw to. And then we have to back that up. We have to make sure that that experience is as enthralling as possible, even though, of course, we're dealing in the AI world, which I prefer to call artful intelligence versus artificial intelligence, and all the quirks that comes with that. No user experience is exactly perfect because it's tech and we're constantly, patching things and cleaning things up. But our ultimate exciting goal is to deliver on enthrallment.
I think it's spectacular. It reminds me of two things. Apologies in advance for being perhaps a bit laborious and circuitous, but there was a time not that long ago when the most color that any Americans had ever seen was when the circus would roll through town. This is all very true, long line of facts to support it. Really, truly, like about 150-ish years ago, there wasn't things like TV and movies that existed were in black and white. There were not a lot of photos. There was obviously nothing digital, and so color was whatever your geography was, and that was it. I mean, like here in Arizona, pick a shade of brown, a little bit of green, but that's it, right? And so when the circus would roll to town, costumes and tent and all the things, people were enthralled by the spectacle of it all. Um, as a kid, and I'm just old enough to kind of straddle these two worlds. It's crazy. As a kid, my dad's side of the family, the whole family was in Florida. My mom's side, which is where we resided, was in Chicago. And so every year we would fill up the family truckster and trek down to Florida. And sort of as a reward, part of that kind of trip is we got to go to Disney World. And that was very much when there was Disney World. Now there's like the studios and Animal Kingdom and Epcot and MGM and all. It was, the one castle kind of thing. And there are photos of me, and I can vividly remember being enthralled. The overarching experience, the whole thing from the being in the car and leaving the state to getting to the thing, it was enthralling. And I remember very desperately wanting to be a part of that, which is why I ultimately worked there while I was in college. And the reason I'm telling the story is because it served me and still to this day serves me because so much of what I do, the work that I do, is really based on Walt's philosophies. And you have found the perfect world to create these moments, these apex moments that people remember and describe and talk about all the time that are so deeply enthralling. When I look at branding and communication strategy and all the things I do with my clients, it's that. I want to provide that. So I love your word a lot.
I was just with your description of that, I was going back thinking, okay, when was I enthralled as a kid or a young man? And I can tell you exactly when it was where I just like was completely blown away between entertainment and business. I must have been maybe in the sixth grade. The Partridge Family. Remember the TV show?
Of course.
Keith Partridge. I mean, we would I wanted to be in the Partridge Family and play the keyboards. I just love that show. You got David Cassidy, you got the whole gang.
Don't forget Danny Bonaducci,
Oh god, yeah, Danny
he was the
Bonaducci.
crazy one.
And so my mom and dad liked to go to the theater. They weren't big theater snobs. They went once a month maybe, or once a quarter or whatever. And they took me and my little brother down. We were both taking piano lessons at the time to the Fifth Avenue in Seattle. And they got pretty decent seats. We were like fifth row center. I mean, and this is way back in the day where these weren't real expensive, seats. And Fifth Avenue was beautiful in Seattle, but it wasn't certainly Broadway. And they took us to our very first musical. It was Yankee Doodle Dandy, James Cohen, Yankee Doodle Dandy, and David Cassidy played the lead. And I thought, okay, this is awesome. Partridge Family, David Cassidy. I liked some of those old musicals and whatever. I got in there and just the anticipation, I was like, what's going to happen next? The big red velvet curtains down, all the pleats, and it's kind of slowly moving. People are coming in. I was enthralled by the anticipation. And then, boom, the orchestra fires up. It's sitting right in front of us down in the pit there. The curtains rise, and here's David Cassidy right out center stage. The first time I'd ever seen a quote unquote, a spectacle of a celebrity in person right in front of me as if he's singing to me. And I sat there, Brian, for the entire 2.5 hours, utterly enthralled by what went down. And I told myself, I don't want to be David Cassidy. I don't even want to be the performer, the singer. I don't even want to be the piano player. I want to be the guy that produces this kind of spectacle for people. And so I did. Went on the Performing Arts Committee at WSU, and I got to produce a lot of the big bands. The Beach Boys came through, Rodney Dangerfield for Dad's Weekend, the Moody Blues. It goes on and on and on. And I loved it, but then I decided, okay, I probably am not going to be a show producer, but I brought that enthrallment to everything I've done in advertising, marketing, music production, and that kind of thing. And it always goes back to that one moment that really kicks you in the ass and goes, this is so cool. I want to do it for the rest of my life.
I love everything about that more than I could perhaps express into words, and I'm going to take us in a little bit tangential direction. You have probably been, but we are just mere weeks away, a couple weeks from now. My wife and I will be heading to Laguna Beach, lovely little speck of artful awesomeness in Southern California, to once again go enjoy the pageant of the Masters. Are you familiar?
No, not.
So, for all of your listeners, and obviously for you and Michelle, I cannot recommend this enough. And I'm going to actually have a point, I promise. But the pageant of the Masters has been over roughly a century. I want to say this is year 99. They've had two interruptions. One was 1 year during World War II, and then a COVID year. But this thing is the most hard to describe spectacle that fully enthralls me so much that we go back every single year. It's an outside stadium. There is no roof. You see stars. It starts at 8:30 p.m., so a fairly late start, but they need the dark. It's roughly 2.5 hours. It has a live narrator, a person who reads the script, a live orchestra, lots of live performers who are off in the wings in various sort of side stages. And then the vast majority of action happens right in front of you, where they take art, as in like art you hang on your wall art or sculpture or whatever it is, and they bring the tableau to life, where people are in the art are real people on stage. It's way bigger than average art size. It's bigger than normal.
Mm-hmm.
But every year they end with The Last Supper by Da Vinci. That's the finale. And it's 2 hours of these weird, sort of even scripted transitional elements as they showcase pieces of art. And I always talk about it, and I always encourage people to go. And it's one of those kind of things, maybe a little different than seeing Sean Cassidy and the whole show. This thing is like serene and quiet. And when it's over, there's like a hush. And then you start to think about it. And you go, oh my goodness, I was enthralled for 2.5 hours. The reason I think it's so important is because not everything is the Super Bowl halftime show. Not everything is the Sphere in Las Vegas. And especially when it comes to and the people who are listening, our work in the corporate world, it's often more hush. It's a unique ability to turn that whole idea of enthralled on its head. It's a little bit contrast as well, right? In our minds, it happens all the time. So many of the presentations that I work on, people come to me and they say things like, I got to be funny. You do? There's like a zillion different kind of emotions out there. That's the one. That's the only one? No. There's a million ways to enthrall people. I highly encourage a Laguna visit, and I'll make you a deal. If you and Michelle want to go July 11th, just saying, you buy the tickets, dinner's on me.
July, and it's not sold out yet.
It's not sold out. I can't remember where our seats are, but I buy them. I mean, I'm like a member, so I always have them kind of early, but come to Laguna, dinner and cocktails on me. We'll go see the show.
Well, our anniversary is 7 days after that. Maybe it'd be a good surprise anniversary gift.
Just
It is
saying.
number 39 for us, so we're getting up there.
Well, congratulations.
That would be fun. That would
It's
be
been the
fun.
best 4 years of Michelle's life.
Decades, my friend, decades. So I love this idea, okay, about enthrallment. And people are probably sitting here going, all right, dudes, well, you're talking about big shows. You're talking
Yeah.
about Disneyland. You're talking about the pageant of the masters. How can I bring a little of that to my presentation, to
Mm.
owning the room on
Mm.
Monday when I've got to roll out a new initiative to my
Mm.
team and I've only got 15 minutes?
Yes. Well, now you're talking my language there, buddy. That's quite a setup.
That's what I figured.
This is like my day, right? Every day. Every day. It's how do I help someone tell their story in a more engaging, effective way? The stuff that you're talking about, the work that I do, this notion of I've got a 15-minute presentation, what do I do? The answer is old, as in Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Seneca, old. You got to go back a number of centuries. The good news is people are still people. We have not changed. Our biology is identical to what it has always been. Uh, Technology's changed for sure, but our brain, the way it's all wired, unchanged. The power of rhetoric, persuasion, influence, that's exactly where all of this comes together. I have built a 10-step framework based on those ancient Stoics that very much works for today. You follow the 10 steps and you will be successful. I don't care if you're doing a best man speech, a TED talk, writing a book or a blog, doing an industry keynote in front of your peers, or an internal 15-minute message to go get the troops fired up. If you follow the steps, you will be effective. Step number one is to set the foundation, tease the problem. Step number two, tell them your core belief. So there it is, right? And those two steps, one and two, tease the problem, core belief, by far and away the most important, by far in a way the hardest. The framework is simple, but it is not easy. It takes a certain measure of both mastery and creativity to nail those two. But once you get it, it is absolutely gold. That notion, though, of core belief, that really is it. And if you think about the way you even set up the question, Park, which I appreciate, imagine if you were going to speak with your internal team about a new idea that you wanted them to adopt. Or maybe an idea that you want to stop, that you want to kill, something that's been socialized within the organization for a bit and you're saying it's time. It's one thing for you to bark out orders, this is what we're doing. It's another to say, this is what I believe. This is what I stand for. And then to build 9 other steps that support it. That's what's so powerful. That's where the influence kicks in. The thing about my 10 steps, and I know you will so deeply appreciate this, is that what we're really looking for are 10 moments of nods and approval, of yeses. It's almost like setting 10 little traps. And essentially, when people go, yeah, that problem makes sense. That core belief, that makes sense. And then down the line, yes, 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 10 of those, you got them. It becomes bulletproof, becomes a no brainer. That's the beauty of the system, but that's really how it works, is to really truly get this unified group think, positively affirming everything along the way. Now, you're not always gonna. We have different core beliefs. Like, I deeply have different core beliefs than the Green Bay Packers. Boo, right? Like, I'm never gonna see eye to eye. It's not gonna work. And so you have to work with those that believe what you believe. But the way you do that, first and foremost, is by knowing what you stand for.
So it's gotta be hard for that person who is so close to what it is they're pitching, be it that initiative, that product or service, that they are the expert,
Mm.
and they suffer from the curse of the expert. And I've had a couple people on the show just recently talking about this and how to carve through your own noise in your own head to find that signal that everybody in the room is going to relate to because they simply don't have the knowledge you do. How do you help people hack through that noise going on between their ears and find that signal? And or if you are unavailable to them, what could they do right now on their own to prepare for that Monday presentation to find out what that core belief is that they are going to hang their entire presentation on?
I mean, that is perhaps the hardest thing to do, but it is actually really, truly the work that I find myself doing and being most rewarded by doing. There's a couple of ways to attack, and if I maybe seem a little outside the bounds of your question, I promise I'll get back to it. But we've said it a few times now, this notion of beliefs lead to actions. It is definitely not easy. I mean, even guys like you and me, Park, who kind of do this work and spend a lot of time thinking about it, but you just go to Joe Average and say, what do you stand for? What are your core beliefs? You're not going to get much. And it's interesting because people will go political or they'll go maybe a religious ideology. And that's not necessarily wrong, but it's not necessarily complete either. And so, really well codified core beliefs are super hard to find, especially in the workplace. But we know something. We know that belief leads to actions. This is a fact, it is undeniable. Okay, let's reverse engineer. It's really easy to see what we do. It's very simple to list all the actions that we take. And I'll give you an example. I am a note writer. I like to write notes. Yes, I text and make phone calls and send emails and do things like Zooms and Teams and all those kind of other things. But I like to write notes too. I think there's some power in the written word and how it affects people that are on the receiving end. I like when I receive notes. I know how it makes me feel. So I can just about imagine what it's like to be on the receiving end of a note that I send. I can look at that action that I have piles of stationery and stamps on the ready. On any given week, that 3 to 10 handwritten notes are sent. These are actions that I repeatedly, regularly do, which can help me deduce, oh, I have a core belief of making people feel special through handwritten correspondence. And over time, I can really codify that down to something as simple as, like I choose to say today, I elevate people. And so my core belief is really elevate people, but it's got legs and teeth and permutations. And one of those things is I write notes. And I know that by reverse engineering my actions. So that's one way to answer the question. The other, um, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more philosophical. I say this, I do this, I have so many examples of it, but the one that really strikes me the most is when I give, I do a couple different kind of keynote presentations. They almost, not almost, they always talk about core beliefs in two different kind of ways. But it's interesting because I very regularly will see people in the audience. Like I literally see them. There could be hundreds of people, and I will see the one or two people, and they kind of get misty and I see them, whether it's at a lunch break or a break afterwards, they will sheepishly find their way to me. And they will, they'll get there. But it's along the lines of, I need a new job. And I said something like, I know. I saw it in when I was on stage. I saw you come to the realization that what you believe, what you stand for as a human being, and what your company stands for are two different things. And in that moment, while I'm speaking, they're in their own head going, I got to get out of here. And so to answer your question, if someone's in their own space, it could be deeper than you think. And it's also, even if you're really comfortable that maybe you're the founder, so that your core beliefs of the organization are absolutely yours, but you're going to speak to your team, you have to just be really comfortable that not everyone's going to be on the same page. Not everyone's going to believe what you believe. And that's okay. You
Mhm.
actually are liberating people when you make it really, really clear. If it's a bad fit, I mean, everyone kind of knows, but now you're giving them the actual practical words, ideas, concepts, beliefs to make it really easy to liberate themselves in a variety of ways. So, your question was perhaps not that big. I made it bigger, but reverse engineer and be really comfortable knowing that not everyone's going to believe.
Yeah. I read a new book that's out, and he'll be coming on the show. The author, Anthony Reeves, who is, I'm not going to have this exactly right, but he's like the head of marketing for Kohler products, bathroom fixtures, that kind of thing.
I
And
want to
he's
meet
had,
him. I think
he's,
I've supported him. We've had a
have you?
bathroom remodel that has cost us $10 billion,
Well,
and they're Kohler products.
he came out with a book. He's an Aussie, and it's a really great book called Eat the Donkey. And I
Great
got a
title.
PDF of it. I'm not sure if it's actually published yet or not. Maybe it's out there. But he does a really good job and an interesting approach to finding these beliefs and principles that you can actually then measure. And it's something I had never thought about. 40 years, I go, God, this makes total sense. So your belief is to elevate people. And as
Yeah.
long as I've known you, that is on brand. You are just a fun guy to be around. I've gotten your handwritten notes. I've seen you in action, and you definitely elevate people in lots of different ways.
You've had chip dip out of a bowl.
I have, and it was delicious, I might add. So I'm assuming you're going to elevate us by buying us tickets to that show, the pageant of the
Masters.
Masters for our anniversary, since I've rolled that out, and I know how you'll anticipate. No, I'm just kidding you there.
You know what? I'll do it right here, right live, recorded for posterity's sake. You guys book the trip. You get to Laguna on July 11th by 8:30 p.m., and I will absolutely treat you to that show. If you get there earlier, we're having sushi at 5:30, I want to say. So dinner and show on me. Just get your butt to Laguna.
That's so nice of you. I didn't really mean for that to happen, but I appreciate that because you just elevated me there. Anyways, back to Eat the Donkey, and thank you for that offer.
I am serious, by the way.
He was talking about, okay, the belief, and I put our story cycle genie to the test on this. And my belief, as I mentioned, is enthrallment. And he says, okay, so like you and the handwritten notes is one simple but difficult gesture because that costs you time and energy to send that. He says, what are the principles that support that belief that actually cost you something? They can't be free. You can't actually benefit from them. You actually have to have time, energy, resources, money costs associated with that, which I thought was a really interesting way to think about it. So let me just unpack enthrallment. So the cost of the principles that support enthrallment to us is number one, we will not work with the frigid and the rigid, meaning somebody shows up. I want to try your genie, but I don't believe in AI, and we've always done it this way, and blah, blah, blah. Well, they're frigid. So we're like, okay, this is not for you. That just cost me a deal. Or they like, hey, dude, I want to use your genie. I think I've already got all this stuff figured out. It's really about this, and it's about me, and it's about that. Well, they are rigid and frigid. No. Thank you, no. We see you later. That costs us a prospect because we know that they are not going to be open to a new, more innovative, faster way of doing things. Number two, 100% money back guarantee. If you are not absolutely enthralled in that first month, we will give you your first month's subscription money back, a refund. You keep everything you created. So that costs us. Number three, story sovereignty. Everything you build inside the genie is yours. We never hold anything back. You don't have to keep paying your subscription to access what you've built. It is yours. That costs us. And then number four, we are more expensive than ChatGPT. Our starting package is $200 versus $20 for you trying to build it yourself in ChatGPT and have all of those hidden time tax in trying to build something that we spent 2 years that's already created. And that $200 subscription will compound and make you more money than you can ever possibly imagine. But it costs us something. When people say, why would I pay you $200 when I can try to do it myself on ChatGPT? And our point is you can't do it yourself. You don't have the story cycle system. You don't have our IP. You don't have our Brightsea platform, but it costs us something. That all leads up to this idea of enthrallment. How can we enthrall every user who is not rigid or frigid to be there so that they'll never ask for their subscription back because they're completely blown away by what they're getting and they know that everything they create is always theirs and nobody else's.
I, I'm struck by something. I haven't thought about this in a long time. I used to use this in presentations. I might do it again. So a million years ago, when I was in my 20s, I really kind of started my career mostly as a media producer. I was working on large events, and they would send me out to go basically gather stories via a film crew. And I was the behind the scenes producer director. And I got to go all over the world and do all kinds of really cool things. It was really great, really, really great gig for a bunch of years. But I mean, I'm talking so long ago that everything was shot and edited on tape. That wasn't film, it was magnetic tape. But
Beta tape.
beta, yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, and we would order cases of the stuff at the time. And it was very much a commodity. It was made by just a couple of different manufacturers. And more or less, you got 30, 60 or 60, 30, 60 or 90-minute tapes, basically the same. And so price would have been an easy thing to try to be the decision maker. Well, there was one provider, pretty interesting. They would take the box from the manufacturer, open it up, score it with a knife, and drop in a fun pack size of M&Ms like you would give at Halloween, seal it back up, and then ship it to their clients. I mean, what's a pack M&M cost even today? Like
Yeah.
99 cents, buck, whatever. But back then, I mean, it's preposterous, right? Like we could have gone to the grocery store and gotten cases of M&Ms, but no, no, no. We ordered this tape from this one distributor, even if it was more expensive, because we knew that when the UPS man dropped off that box, there was going to be M&Ms. And when the UPS guy was coming, because everyone knew when we were ordering tape, it was like a race to meet him outside because it was sort of like first come, first serve. You got the M&Ms. Same tape, but we were enthralled with that distributor because of those silly little M&Ms. It doesn't take much, but it costs them just a little extra, 99 cents and 30 seconds of time to add those M&Ms in the box. You're exactly right.
Yeah. It's cool. So, Brian, let's wrap up. We
Do we have to?
talked.
I'm having fun.
I know. We should just get our own show together and just roll out the Brian and Park show or something because you are
I'm
fun to
all
talk
for it.
with.
I think
You
we
know,
would be really good at that.
the B&P, if you will.
B&P. I
I
think
don't know. That's not very enthralling.
we should do it naked, like give the public what they want. A couple of good looking guys.
Oh boy.
No. Yeah, it's
Oh,
terrible
that
idea.
would not be enthralling. That
I'm
might
at the
be
age now, I'm sure you're the
enjailing.
same. It would be awful. I'm at the age now, I'm sure you're similar, where like I don't want to see me. Like I look, it's just like, no, everything looks wrong. It's all off. I don't like it so much. This getting old thing.
Yeah,
Not
well, I'm at,
interested.
as we were talking about earlier, I'm at that age too, a little bit older than you, that when our people get together, we have what we call an organ recital because everybody has something going sideways on in their body and they feel compelled to share that organ problem with you. And it's an organ recital, but I digress. Where I was really going with this, we don't have time to go through your whole 10 steps.
Yeah, no
Love the
need.
fact that tease the problem, find that core belief. And I really loved your idea about find 10 moments in there that, like, would you call them a surprise trap? Nods, approvals, get that to,
Nods, yeah.
yeah. God, I'd never thought about that way.
It's
I'm
all 10
totally there.
steps, each
Yep.
one. Yep.
Where can people learn about those?
That's a good question. I'm knee deep in the book, which is not yet out. I think the easiest thing is really sincerely, and I mean this, is just contact me. I put lots of stuff up on LinkedIn, and I certainly have some things on my website, but none of that is really truly complete. It is truly the work that I do. It's the consulting practice that I offer my clients, and so I don't really have it out there for one to easily access. That said, if people just simply sent an email to info@Square Planet, and if you think round Earth, info@Square Planet, and say, I heard you're on Park Show. I want your 10 steps. I will be effusive and quick to give you all kinds of stuff for the low, low price of nothing.
And even for that low, low price of nothing, I believe you said you would also give them maybe a 45-minute consult
I would gladly do that.
in
For
your
sure.
notes
I
here?
really would. No,
I
I
don't wanna
really would.
put you on the spot since I already did for buying his tickets to that show in Laguna, but I thought you said maybe you would spend a little time on the phone with them, need be.
100%. I actually really
Yeah.
like doing that. We'll set up. I'll send you my Calendly link. And we'll pick a time, and we'll do a Zoom, and I'll share some stuff, and we'll walk through whatever it is that you got. And I can make you one real guarantee: if you spend 45 minutes with me to talk about your presentation, your website, your story, your book, whatever it is, I promise you, you will be leaps and bounds further at codifying your core beliefs than if you spent a year on your own.
Yeah, it's a ridiculously good offer, folks. Brian works with TEDx stars, with businesses. I've known the guy. I can't recommend him highly enough. I would jump all over that and just send him a note over to info@squareplanet.com.
Correcto.
Dude, thank you so much for being
Are
here.
you kidding? Thank you, man.
Say hello to Shauna for us.
And same to you, right back to you at Michelle and your kids. More than anything, it's just always nice to hang with you. But you be well, be safe. And for those listening, friends, you're fools if you don't run to the genie. This thing is, oh my goodness, it's real.
Thank you for that, man. Look forward to seeing you soon. If not in Laguna, maybe I will be over there in Laguna. You don't have to buy. You absolutely don't have to buy.
It would be my
But it
pleasure.
sounds like a great surprise.
Don't deny me the pleasure of buying you tickets to the pageant of the Masters.
All right, my friend. I hope to see you soon in person.
You
Take
got
care.
it, bud. Thanks, Park.
Hey, thanks for listening to this edition of The Business of Story. And if you have yet to find your core belief, that one word that really defines what you stand for, so you stand out in the world, well, you can do that right now at storycyclegenie.ai. Get your free brand story graded, validate what you're doing well, reveals gaps, inspires you with new ways to think about your story, and start getting your story dialed in. storycyclegenie.ai. Now, I hope you'll join me next Monday when Colin Henderson will be here. He's written 7 books, host of Master Your Mindset podcast. He's trained #1 NBA draft picks, Heisman finalists, and top performers across pro sports and Fortune 500 companies. He's got a new book coming out called The Oz Method: Psychological Secrets of Influence for Sales, Leadership, and Life. You're not going to want to miss it. And until then, remember that the most potent story you will ever tell is the story you tell yourself. So make that one epic. Thanks so much for listening.